Okay, this is more quotes. We're doing quotes today from William Burroughs and a few other writers. We're going in alphabetical order through this book, The Holy Grail of Wisdom Quotes, my book, Pete Rogers. Okay, so the first one is William Burroughs, an American novelist, writer, sort of during the time of the Beat generation. His first quote, "You can't fake quality any more than you can fake a good meal." And that reminds me of another quote, "You can't make someone tell you the truth, and you can't make them love you. It's just the way it is. You can't make someone tell you the truth, and you can't make them love you." Okay, next by William Burroughs. "You were given the power to love, and in order to use it, no matter the pain it might cause you." And that reminds me of a quote by this guy from Stanford. I don't remember his name, but what he said was, in life, suffering is inevitable. So try to make what you do, how you live your life, your purpose, your meaning, so it's worth the suffering. Don't just piddle your life away in trivialities. Do something good, make it meaningful, and just have to accept the suffering that comes along with it. Okay, Burroughs continues. "What does the money machine eat? It eats youth, spontaneity, life, beauty, and above all, it eats creativity. It eats quality, and it shits quantity. How I hate those who are dedicated to producing conformity." And I think that's the way a lot of doctors feel about conventional medicine. They really want to help their patients. They really want to do some good, save their patients, but they're just not allowed. Conventional medicine is an assembly line. Where are your billing codes for today? Do your frickin' work. Stop goofing off. Where are your billing codes? Where are your billing codes? Where are your billing codes? Okay? They pretend that they care about quality, but they really don't. All they care about is quantity. Speeding it up. We want efficiency. We want productivity, which just means generate more billing codes. No one gives a rat's tail about the patients, because you make money by selling drugs, selling imaging tests, selling procedures. You don't make money by talking to people or helping them. You don't make money by curing them. And the higher up you go in the system, the more all they care about is money. It's the people lower in the system that really like the patients and want to do everything they can for them. Okay, next quote is, "Sometimes being paranoid just means you've got all the facts." Okay, now here's an interesting spin. This is by Burroughs again. "If there is no truth, then everything is permitted." And of course, that sounds like a spin-off on Dostoevsky from Brothers Karamazov, the chapter about the Grand Inquisitor, when Ivan was talking and he said, if there is no God, then everything is permitted. And that's kind of like saying God is truth. And if there is no truth, everything's permitted. If there is no God, everything's permitted. But that's also why you'll often see that a ruler might like lying to be okay, because then they can do whatever they want. Also, they don't want a God, because if there's a God, that's something above them. Okay, so it kind of does come back to this. And this is also why I say, unless you have a Bible-based worldview, you have no moral foundation, and anything goes. And whoever got the power and the might, which means the money, etc., they're going to do whatever they want, and no one else has any right to say anything about it. Unfortunately, that's reality. And that's actually pretty well known. It's not like it's just my idea. Anybody who studied it knows it. Okay. The next quote by Burroughs is, "Desperation is the raw material for drastic change. Only those who can leave behind everything they have ever believed in can hope to escape." And I think there's some truth in that basically you have to, sort of feel the pain of a disappointment or anything, or a misfortune, in order to energize you to push yourself into something new. And it's a little bit like Burroughs, the Polish psychiatrist, his theory of personality disintegration and reintegration, with the idea, like, let's say for gifted students, they're sad and upset about something, the so-called hyperexcitability concept, and then you almost have to collapse inward your previous hopes and dreams in one area, and you have to put them into a new area, and you have to be able to do that, because if you sit around perseverating and whining about, spilt milk, so to speak, you're not going to achieve in the next area. But at the same time, if you take that frustration with the previous setback or disappointment and you put it into something else new with a lot of energy, you can do real well. And the theory of personality disintegration, reintegration might mean, like, let's say you're a senior resident in med school and there's two fields you really want to go into, but you can only choose one. So you have to give up everything you had hoped in that other field and then put it all into this one. I mean, there's a lot of things in life where you're faced by those crossroads. It's kind of like the Soren Kierkegaard either-or dilemma, and you don't get a Hegelian dialectic of thesis, antithesis, antithesis, and new synthesis. It's more like either or. Okay, William Burroughs continues. Well, first of all, he said, desperation is the raw material for drastic change. Only those who can leave behind everything they have ever believed in can hope to escape. Okay, nothing happens by coincidence. Nothing happens by coincidence, I think is a good quote, is that, I know a lot of people, and most people are just kind of naive, gullible, stupid, functional illiterates. They don't really have any sense. And what I'm saying here is you should always say to yourself, why did this happen? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? And yeah, it's true. Sometimes it just happened by coincidence or chance. But when you start asking, why did this happen? Why did this happen? You'll all of a sudden see tons of things fit a pattern, and they're intentional. Okay? And once you recognize that intentionality, you can predict it, and that's valuable. Okay, Burroughs continues. Your mind will answer most questions if you learn to relax and listen for the answer. The best way to keep something bad from happening is to see it ahead of time. And you can't see it if you refuse to face the possibility. Okay. And that last quote, you can't see it if you refuse to face the possibility. That reminds me of Goethe's quote. Nothing is more difficult to see than that which is right in front of our face. Okay. And Ayn Rand has another quote very much like that. She said, there's nothing more difficult to explain than the obvious thing that no one wants to hear. Okay, this guy, Benjamin Hapgood Burt, we just got one quote from him. You can tell a man who boozes by the company he chooses. Yeah, that reminds me of the Machiavelli quote. The best way to estimate the skill of a ruler, of a leader, is by the men he keeps around them. If he keeps a bunch of, yes men, then he's probably a lightweight. But if he's got a bunch of solid guys around him, then he's probably a heavyweight. Okay, Leo Buscaglia, your talent is God's gift to you. What you do with it is your gift back to God. Yeah, and I think a person should be grateful for whatever talent they have and use it to the utmost, Try not to just whittle your life away in trivialities, because it's very easy to do that. Okay. All right, here we've got some business quotes. So the first one I think is a great one. This one is from Michael Lewis from the book Liar's Poker. He says, in every deal, there's always two partners and a chump. And if you don't know who the chump is, then the chump is you. And so I've unfortunately been the chump more than I'd like to. So that's a good one. In every deal, there's always two partners and a chump. And if you don't know who the chump is, then the chump is you. Okay. Next one is Robert Kiyosaki. The number one thing people can do to increase their wealth is to start a part-time business. I thought his book was very good. The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think every high school kid should read that book. As a matter of fact, I can remember one time my kid was young, I think early on in high school or something, and his mother was standing like right next to him in the room, and I was kind of tired. I just come home from work, and the kid says to me, Dad, what's the most important thing I got to know to be rich? And I said, probably don't have kids. And his wife goes, what kind of a way is that to talk to a child? And I said, oh yeah, and don't get married. I should have maybe listened to my own advice. Okay, Kiyosaki continues. We are not taught financial literacy in school. It takes a lot of work and timing to become financially literate. Money doesn't make you rich. Assets make you rich. Kiyosaki continues. People ask me, what is my advice for an average investor? My advice is, don't be an average investor. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. That's it for this session.